Why do fire trucks get dispatched to medical calls as well as ambulance? We may need an extra pair of hands. We may need some help, to help lift a patient or to help hold an IV bag, help do this, help do that. And the firemen in the fire truck could also be EMTs and could help us out in that way. Also, we could just need more EMTs, but we don't need two ambulances. If there's only one patient, we don't need another ambulance. The other EMTs will come in a fire truck. But mostly it's because we just, it's nice to have an extra couple pairs of hands, that sort of thing. What are the main problems ambulance paramedics encounter while doing their jobs? Getting assaulted, getting killed, getting murdered, traffic accidents. Can an introvert make a good EMT? Yes. I'm an introvert, and I'm an EMT. Yeah, absolutely. For me, my sort of aversion to social interaction, I don't know if this is some kind of Freudian power thing, but, if you called me, I don't have as much, hey, come to me. When I get there, I don't have a problem talking to you because you called me. You called me here, and also, I'm here to help you. You need help, and I'm here to help you. It's sort of a different thing. I would try suction first. It may necessitate putting an OPA in. I would reach for the suction unit first. Does a diagnosis of schizophrenia or another serious mental illness disqualify you from being an EMR, EMT, or paramedic? Yes. I'm sure policies differ, perhaps, in other parts of the country. Ambulance companies and fire departments may have different policies, but for me, in Pennsylvania, I think it's the same all throughout the country, but to be an EMT, you have to have a clean criminal record, clean driving record, clean child abuse record, clean FBI record. In addition to being up on all your immunizations and things like that, and childhood immunizations, you also have to have a completely clean bill of health. You have to go get a physical from your physician. I had to take a little form that the doctor had to fill out that says, are his eyes good? Are his ears good? Is this good? Are his lungs good? You have to have a completely clean bill of health to be an EMT, a paramedic, or I'd imagine an EMR. So yes, that would probably disqualify you. If someone states they do not want treatment to the EMT and then goes unconscious, do you give treatment then or not? Well, that depends. The only reason we wouldn't is if there is a signed and authenticated DNR. If you're really serious about not wanting to be resuscitated by emergency services, go to a lawyer and get a do not resuscitate order. If we get dispatched to your house and you're there and you say, don't resuscitate me, and then you go into cardiac arrest, unless your family produces a valid DNR, yes, we will resuscitate you. Again, there needs to be a valid DNR, and if your family's futzing about and can't find it, we're going to start to resuscitate you. The second they pull it out, we look it over, we key up the mic and talk to the physician, we try to call your PCP, we're going to get it authenticated, make sure this is you, make sure this is real, blah, blah, blah. Then, once we authenticate the DNR, then, okay, we will terminate life-sustaining measures. But if you just tell us that, no. If we don't revive you just because you said so, we're liable for a lawsuit. So we will not do that. And yes, people have sued. So we will not be doing that. When someone is unconscious or dead, if there isn't a DNR, we have what's called implied consent. The idea being anyone who is unconscious, it's assumed you want to be revived just because it's better than the alternative of just not reviving anybody because they probably don't want it. And, you could say, do not revive me, don't bring me back to life, boom, drop dead. We're going to revive you, because if we don't, we can get sued, and it happens more than you want to know, so we're definitely going to do that. Even if your family says no, he doesn't want to be revived, we will begin resuscitative measures while one of us asks, is there a DNR? And if there isn't, bitch, you're getting revived. How do I thank the EMTs that took me to the hospital? Say thank you. No, really, just say thank you. If you know who they are, if you can seek them out. We don't hear that very often at all, so it will be meaningful. How long does it take to die after jumping off a 20-story building? Is it instantaneous like in the movies? Yes. Beyond 3 stories, your chances of surviving drop to almost zero. If you're talking 20 stories, yeah, no. It's going to be instantaneous. Bam! The second you hit the ground. I think there was one story of some guy who jumped 16 stories, but he landed on his legs on a car in a certain way that he ended up surviving. But that is way the exception, not the rule. Yeah, beyond 3 stories, you're gonna die. And 20, you're gonna die the second you hit the ground. What do you do when you hear an ambulance/fire truck but don't know what direction it is coming from? Figure out what direction it's coming from. Keep an eye out, look in your mirrors, see if you can see flashing lights, see if you can see where they are. If you could hear it but you can't really see it, it's hard to know where to go or what to do or where will be out of the way. So just keep an eye out. And the second you see it, pull over, please. Would anyone hire an 18-year-old EMT? Yes. One of my instructors, in fact, or sort of instructor assistants, when I was in EMT school, was 17. She, by a slight relaxation of the rules, because she was in cyber school, she got to spring EMT class when she was 17. She graduated at 17, and when she turned 18, she had a job on an ambulance. And also at a mental hospital. The EMS community, we look out for each other in a lot of ways, and a lot of companies, for instance in my area, Transmed, they'll hire you no matter what. If you're an EMT, they love hiring new EMTs and training them, getting them some experience. They don't pay so great, but they have absolutely no need for new employees, but they'll hire you anyway. A lot of companies and fire departments are like that. We like to help each other out because we're really all we have. Can anyone die from a slight hit to the head? Yes. Can I work part-time as an EMT? Yes. Part-time as a paramedic? Not really. Your skills will kind of atrophy. As an EMT, though? Absolutely. Do firefighters or paramedics carry tasers? By default, no. I don't think any of the ambulance services or fire departments around here carry weapons other than, a big-ass oxygen tank and stuff like that. Some places do allow firemen and paramedics and EMTs to carry personally licensed firearms or mace or stuff like that. And in some areas, we also, in most areas, we wear bullet-resistant body armor. Some places specifically don't allow it because, especially if you're a student EMT, because, it's sort of typical. They want you to be helpless so that when you get the shit beat out of you, they can go, they attacked our harmless EMT or EMT student, and then they can use it as leverage and blah, blah, blah. So, no, not by default, but there are some places that would allow you to do that, yes. And there are some places that specifically wouldn't allow you to do that. How does a paramedic get my emergency details if I am unconscious? A plethora of different ways. Maybe we don't. There's always the chance that we don't, and we just don't have any information on you. Now there are apps, and there's that thing on your phone we can look at. There are different programs that the state does, like that yellow dot program, where if there's a yellow dot sticker on the back of the window or something, then there's a little packet of information in the glove box, that sort of thing, from loved ones. Bystanders. But I mean, if you don't have any of that stuff and you're unconscious, we can't get it. If Narcan is administered during an ambulance ride, will it show up or be itemized on the bill? You bet your fucking ass. Everything's on the bill, motherfucker. This is healthcare. How do most EMTs deal with nasty paramedics and nurses? That's interesting that you asked that question because there are a lot of nasty paramedics and nurses, especially if you're an EMT. We laugh at them and we fuck with them. That's how. Do EMTs and paramedics have a reality TV show that reasonably depicts their profession, just like police have their show Cops? There might be other options here, and this is a little bit specific, but there's a show that was on in Australia. Well, there's a show in Australia called Recruits, which is about people becoming cops, but they had a spin-off season called Recruits Paramedics, following students through paramedic class, then their first couple months on the job, that kind of thing. Paramedic means something different in Australia than it does in America. But it still was very interesting to watch. It was wonderfully put together show. And Recruits, also the one with cops, that was pretty cool too. But I really liked the spin-off paramedics season they did. If you can take a look at that, that's, it's obviously it's a little bit different because it takes place abroad in a different country. If you're Australian, it takes place in your country, but if you're American, it takes place in a somewhat similar but different situation. But still, it's not bad. What they call paramedic there is essentially what we call EMT here. Other than that, there are a ton of EMT and paramedic reality shows. I haven't seen most of them. The ones I have seen kind of suck. Why do paramedics get paid so little? Good question. How do they decide to pronounce someone dead at accident? That's an interesting question. EMTs and paramedics cannot declare someone dead. Coroners have to declare someone dead. Same with cops. However, there is a small list of occasions where we are legally allowed to declare someone dead. For example, decapitation, incineration, someone who doesn't have a chest anymore, someone whose heart is right there, obvious times where it's like, well, there's nothing really we can do. One of them definitely would apply at the scene of an accident such as a car accident, if there are parts all over the place or something like that. Absolutely, we can declare someone dead. And how do you decide if they're fucking dead? I mean, if they're all in pieces and you can't put them back together, well, you go, okay, there's nothing we can do. Is it harder to find your brachial pulse when you're overweight? Yes. How much do EMTs get paid in the USA? Minimum wage. It varies a little bit, but nothing above $9. How expensive is the EMT training? It was somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $4,000. How can you become a paramedic in the US or UK? Is this a college degree of some kind, and do you need to have citizenship? Well, I can only speak for the US. A paramedic, you don't technically need a degree to be a paramedic. You just need to complete paramedic training, which is a 2-year course. You have to be an EMT, and then you need another about 1.5 years of paramedic classes and clinicals and stuff like that. I think Texas is the only state that requires an associate's degree to be a paramedic. I think it has to be in EMS. No other state requires it, but that's the direction it's going. So pretty much if you want to be a paramedic, you should do a paramedic degree program at a community college. Do paramedics and other emergency responders get offended when people joke about 911 phone number, not terrorism act? Are you kidding? We're the ones who joke the most about that shit. Can married emergency medical technicians work together at the same station? Of course. I mean, maybe they would have a specific policy against it at a particular ambulance company, but I don't see why they would do that. How do EMTs transport patients from buildings with small elevators and narrow stairwells? It's a pain in the ass. What does it feel like to be restrained by paramedics? Well, restrained, I've never been... if you're talking about forcibly restrained, the paramedics probably aren't going to be the ones doing that. It's going to be the cops. That I don't know what it feels like, but if you just mean to be restrained as in strapped onto a backboard and put in a C-collar and all that different stuff, I can tell you, very restricting as part of your EMT and paramedic training. Everything you do to a patient, you have to have done to yourself, so that you know what it's like. So I was, strapped into everything. A Stokes basket, a stair chair, everything. It feels pretty restrained. How much is the cost of an air ambulance in the United States? Do you mean like what will show up on your bill if you get into an accident and have to be airlifted? Oh shit, a lot.